And then I have a review, so don't forget. Hi.
Nobody will because now we're live.
Now we're live. Hi.
Hey everybody.
Hello.
I'm gonna pull up our live and let's get rolling.
Let me know when you guys are set. Oh, it's the chat. There's the chat. Okay.
Got the chat, okay.
So maybe we have someone designated, like Patrick or Perry or whoever, designated to like read some comments from the chat. Like maybe we take a break. Like not a break, but like,
I
oh,
can
let's go to the chat and see what people are saying. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can do my
definitely.
best to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if they come in, organically, I'm just not gonna be typing in the chat tonight, so I can be less distracted, I think. But let's roll.
But that's a
Dinner
Rizzo.
roll.
All right. Welcome to Perfect Organism, the Alien Saga podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Prater, and I'm joined by my co-hosts.
Patrick Green.
Harry Chicos.
Andy Geek Girl.
And Micah Green. I kind of like roll.
Hello, everybody.
Did that start because I
Hi.
said my
Hey.
name? I said my name kind of weird, didn't I?
You
Yeah.
made that happen.
I don't know why I did that.
It wasn't weird. I thought it was cool.
Poop
Then
Bane.
I,
We
then
can
I
make that a
got-
thing now.
Yeah, we needed it.
Wolfbane.
Honestly,
need
I think
that
I'm
air
trying to
horn.
make up for my grumpy energy on the last live episode. I'm just gonna be
Patrick Green.
super
You weren't
positive.
grumpy, Patrick. You weren't grumpy. You were just, I think you're perplexed.
I was tired too.
Yeah, that
But I'm
too.
not tired tonight. I'm feeling good. I'm ready to talk about this. We got patrons to read. And I'm going to go ahead and just do that right now. Let's go back a couple months. We got Lorna Folan, Peter Hoskin, Adrian Johnson, McLegendface, Hudson's Extra Life, Sky Aaron, Jordan, Xenodad, and Christian Sadler, who just joined. If you want to join them, go to perfectorganism.com/support. We'd love to have you. And if you want to join at the producer tier, you'll get some cool extra perks, which we will talk about at the end when we do our full producer readout. And let's go to Andy with a review.
Okay. This one comes from Lazy Pancreas. Love the name.
That's amazing, first of all.
It's really amazing.
Not making that insulin.
No,
I love it.
So the review says, I came across this podcast in the wake of Covenant, and the regular Alien fanatic should look no further. While I don't always agree with every take, the discussion and breakdowns of this source material has given me a newfound love for my favorite series. The obvious devotion to source material, characters, and movie making shows each and every episode. This podcast has shown me the true magnitude of this fan community that I didn't know existed before. I look forward even more to sharing these stories someday with my daughter, Ripley. So,
Wow,
Oh.
lazy
love
pancreas.
that.
I
Lazy
know.
Pancreas.
Daughter
Pancreas.
named Ripley.
Win after win, Lazy Pancreas. Let's
Yeah, I
go.
love that. I love
That's
that.
awesome.
Can I
Um,
make a comment towards that review?
Yes.
Fine.
Shut up, Perry.
No, I appreciate like all of our fans, right? I just want to say that, like, really love you guys, and I love the people that have been with us for so long since like Covenant time, right? Like that's a good amount of time to still be listening to us.
Mhm.
And what's nice that they mentioned was that even though they don't agree with everything, and I feel like that's a big topic in today's in our world today. And so I just want to say like we appreciate you. We don't come on this show touting that we're experts of this franchise, right? Like we all just grew up loving this franchise, loving these movies, and we just are here to talk about it. And it brings us joy personally, like us as individual people, to come here once a week, twice a week, and just talk together as friends and family, as we as Perfect Organism knows each other as, but to then be able to have a medium to share that with the worldwide web is really cool, right? And so
Really
for
cool.
people to be like riding with us since those days, and even for if you're just finding us and listening to us, that's great that you don't agree with everything that we say. Like we all have our own personal opinions, and we would hope that you would as well. And we are definitely not asking people to like, oh, you gotta, like think how we think or believe it this way or it has to be like this. It's just like we just love coming on here, talking about these things, showing love for artists, talking through the films. We might have strong opinions about things, and that's probably because of the environment that we grew up in, or how we grew up, or where we came from, our personal backgrounds, all that good stuff. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but at the end of the day, we just love you guys for hanging out with us and being here for so long. So thank you.
100%. And how boring would it be if we all agreed, if everyone agreed?
Exactly.
Like there would be no growth, there would be no understanding. We learn more about each other when we don't agree on everything. I
Right.
personally believe. I mean, hey,
100%.
Patrick and I met. The show became what it is because Patrick and I didn't agree, and then we found this like middle space where we could
Legit.
see, yeah, where we
Found
could
a
like see
home.
what, yeah, where we could see each other's perspective, and it's great. So
Yeah. And if you
Yeah.
want to hear that, go
Yeah.
back to episode 59, which is crazy because this
That's
is
so crazy.
almost episode 300. I think this will be 299, right,
yes,
Jamie, when we put this up?
yes,
So we are one
Wow.
away from 300
I
episodes.
love that.
Yeah,
And
That's so
yeah, my
cool.
first appearance was already episode 59, and that was almost a decade ago at this point, which is
Wow.
just
that's crazy.
nuts to think about.
Yeah,
a lot.
10 years
Yeah.
ago next year. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
next
Next year.
So
Yeah.
a lot has happened, and we're really grateful for everybody. Just echoing what Perry said and what all our buddies in the chat, like Larry, Poop Vein, Robbie, Randy, got lots of people in the chat. We love you guys. If you want to join these live, please do. It's on
Yes.
YouTube. We kind of are at least temporarily switching to Wednesday nights, largely because I'm a baby and I have a new schedule and I can't stay up late on Tuesdays anymore. But it was usually Wednesdays at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we would love to have you there. And without further ado, I'll hand it back over to, let's go to Andy for the topic of tonight's episode, because I believe this originated with an Andy idea.
It did.
It did. I know we've talked so much about Ripley and female empowerment and all that, and I really wanted to focus in specifically on the good men, whatever that means. We're going to discuss what that means, and but the men who support her in one way or another, kind of like help to lift her up or continue her story. I really want to highlight them. I wanted to be positive today in a, timeline that's maybe not so positive. And I think there's so many. I think we've highlighted. You featured 3 on the ad, right? But I think there's a few other men we were talking about today that we can kind of sneak in there as well. So,
Yeah, I didn't. There's only so much space. So
I know there's only so much space, but
Only so many men can fit in that
I
one pressure
mean,
compartment.
so
Where's
many
Fauci's
men.
name is too long to type out.
they're in
So many
quarantine,
men.
like
They're in
ICC says.
quarantine.
I just
yeah.
love how it looks like
Yeah.
they're all peeking over each
They
other.
are. They're like we're here too. So yeah. So I thought I'm curious what everyone's perspective is. Love to hear you guys contribute in the chat too on what you think. And I don't know. I think maybe we start from the beginning, like we start from Alien and progress that way.
I had one interesting question though, as a maybe as a first question to everyone. What does people notice about the men in these films? But starting with Dallas, what do people notice about the dynamic? And I'm wondering, like, when you guys noticed, like, hey, these guys are a little different.
Like, I mean, for me, I saw Aliens first, and I'm gonna say outright, like, growing up in the 80s, Hicks completely stood out to me beyond like all of the other men in movies that I've seen.
Well, me too, but
I know for various reasons, but but honestly, and I do kind of want to start in order, but like for me, it was, and then subsequent viewings of Alien and Alien 3, the dynamic was such that it stood out because of their support, because of this like dynamic shift where we're so used to the woman playing second fiddle and supporting the man. There was this, shift where she was up at the forefront. She was the protagonist, and they were in support of her. And and even if I wasn't consciously aware of what was going on at that time, something stood out about it to me. And I kept revisiting it, and I kept going back, and I kept wanting to see it more because of that. I think a large part of that dynamic. I loved everything about the movie, the action, all of that. But there was something about that that stood out to me. Yeah. What about you guys?
Well, I'll go. Um, Starting out with Dallas, I think, and it might be kind of cliche, everything that I'm about to say, like, because it does kind of trend through to the men who stand out to me in this series. Dallas as a leader, um, at first viewing for me, it almost was like, oh, I'm watching a movie from the 70s. Why isn't this leader like just like swaggering everywhere, commanding people what to do, just like taking charge in a very aggressive way? Not maliciously aggressive, but just taking charge firmly. We're doing it my way. This is what's happening. Dallas does not do that. The thing that stands out to me about him is that he listens to his crew, everybody. And it feels like even though he is in charge and he is able to take command when he needs to, he really does take everybody's opinion to heart, and it doesn't seem like he puts himself above the others in the crew, even though other crew members do that. Their interpersonal relationships reflect that sort of, I'm above you, so you have to listen to me. But Dallas doesn't do that. And I feel like he's a very humble character. And I'm just not, I wasn't I grew up watching these movies of the 80s and 70s, like Indiana Jones and Star Wars and all of those things where like it's very clear who the male lead is. It's very clear who the hero is. Like you got Han Solo, and I'm not dissing any of these people at all or these characters. I love them. But Dallas is a different flavor of character like that. And it's refreshing because he seems to have everyone's best interest at heart. He wants everyone to get off safely, off. And it's not just him first. It's not just about pride or being a hero. And when he does ultimately volunteer to be the one to go into the events, I feel like that doesn't come across as like this is the big heroic moment and it's like so golden and beautiful. It's beautiful in the way that it's quiet and he's just like, no, I'm gonna go. Obviously, I'm gonna be the one that goes in the vent. I will do it. And I just believe that so hard because of the way he's been throughout the film. Just humble is the word that keeps popping
Mhm.
up for me. Humble.
Yeah, I think he had a sense of responsibility there. Like, this is my crew. Of course, I'm going to be the one to do it. It was like a no-brainer for him in a way that was like not flashy. I love
Yeah,
Dallas.
yeah, me too. I really enjoyed Dallas. I really enjoyed Kane. I really enjoyed all the men on in Alien. Really, I think what's cool that you both bring up is just how they interact with everyone else, and I think this is something we bring up a lot since a lot of us are very character driven. I know we touched on this in our Patreon episode last night, but uh, it's just very great to see that there's this understanding of what their job is, what they're doing, and I'm talking like the totality of just like going into space. That entire idea means all of these things. If they come across a signal that needs to be checked out, a ship that's in despair, they need to go help them out. Obviously, there's payment involved in that, but they all understand that. And so Dallas doesn't need to be that flashy, that like barking orders down. It's not like a military command ship or something like that. But he's intelligent enough to be able to bring things up that inform everybody else to make them understand and convince them into what they do. Although it's great to see people like Kane, right? Like it was years later when I was thinking like, how there's the science officer, there's the navigation, all these different types of people that are on board. But it's cool to see their different personalities that they bring to their characters to want to just like they didn't really Kane didn't really once they saw the ship, he was like in awe of it, right? Of the derelict, and like wanted to explore that, was like wanting to go down into the egg chamber. Whereas like if that was me, And I know it's easy to say that, but you know, I would have just been scared shitless and I would have been like, no, I'm not going down there, dude. Even after Kane probably like gets face hugged, like I'm not going down there to bring Kane back up. I mean, I don't know, maybe I would have. Um, Depending on what the bonus dollar amount might have been. But anyway, you get the idea, right? So it's just like it's cool to watch that, especially as like a young mind watching that, and then to see how there's this danger then that's brought on the ship, and to see all the men um act in the way that they do in a genuine way, but still all working together. Like even Parker, somebody who just wanted to go home and party and was like complaining the whole time, right? And things like that, but still stepped up when he needed to step up and was still like wanted to offer like protection even to someone like Ripley when you know Ash is completely attacking her and things like that, and to see the emotion that those actors brought to those characters to create that sense of family, really, right? In that worth and that that love for like their crew in that way, because they know the stakes, what stakes are involved in what they're doing. So yeah, just really love that.
Poop Vane said something that I think sums this up really, really good. He said, each male character has their own identity that's relatable without succumbing to the typical movie tropes, which is exactly what I was trying to
Yes.
say.
Hmm.
Not to say that we don't love and have a place in our heart for those movie tropes, but it was just different to see someone like
Yes.
Dallas, and it was just different to have, we'll get to Hicks, obviously. Hicks is just golden boy, of course. But it's just different, especially when you're seeing those movies from that time.
I
Yep.
think I'm really glad we're talking about this because I truly think that as progressive as the treatment of like female heroines was with Alien, I really think the treatment of male archetypes was almost just as big
Yes.
of a deal. And I really feel like it goes back to Alien being written, the way gender was treated in the screenplay for Alien, which is a pretty crazy experiment to just sort of see which actors fit the roles and then kind of cast them accordingly. And so it was written in this kind of like, post-gender framework. And that like in the Alien installments that work the best kind of still has that feel. And it goes back, I mean, if you look at all of the characters in Alien, there is none of that like misogynistic kind of, raging stuff that was so typical of other movies at the time, genre movies or otherwise. And it really isn't until like Paul Van Leeuwen in Aliens, when Ripley's in front of the ICC tribunal, that we see any kind of like condescending, like oh, let's don't worry your pretty little head, miss, behavior, when he's kind of talking about like, oh, she has nothing to worry about. Like you don't know what's going on. Don't worry. That's like the first time Ripley's really treated like that. There's obviously like violence against her that's perpetrated in a way that feels very gendered in terms of the way Ash, attacks her with the magazine and stuff. Like that clearly is supposed to, you know, play on those kind of fears. But like the men in Alien to a person do not act like typical men in screenplays of that time. Even somebody like Brett, who doesn't really have much interaction with
Right.
Ripley at all, like he doesn't do anything condescending or shitty to her. He's just kind of like, going with the flow and being a crewmate. And then you have people, of course, like
Right.
Dallas, to Jamie's, initial point. Yeah, thank you. Um, Dallas, I think is wonderful because like we're kind of all saying there's this almost like laconic, uh, kind of like casual leadership style with him that just feels very different from most kind of space captain characters, quote unquote. But to me, the one that always sticks out is Parker. Parker is one of my absolute, he's a top five character for me in all the Alien films, and probably like a top 10 character in any movie, period, if not a top five character. I think Parker's amazing. And I think Yaphet Kotto brought such humanity to him, and also was so unexpected because he's a character who was very much set up from the beginning for the audience to assume was going to be that element, that kind of macho, braggadocious element that was going to have a lot of like very kind of masculine energy and be like the hero. Like obviously Yaphet was a pretty big star at the time, and people were kind of assuming it was either going to be him or Tom Skerritt. And for a reason, because usually it was the man that survived, and both of those actors had leading roles recently in things. And so I think, like we meet Yaphet, and he's very loud and boisterous and confident and whiny. and funny, and we're just like, oh, this is gonna be like the guy who's gonna give her a hard time. He's probably gonna be like hitting on her. He's just got all this like kind of like loud energy, and the whole movie he's just not at all like that. And in fact, as things go to shit, he listens to her more and is more egalitarian with her, and a better like advocate and ally for people listening to Ripley, like even down to like drawing straws. Like he's the one who is very committed to getting everybody off the ship together. He doesn't want to leave anybody behind. He doesn't want Lambert to go alone. He knows how scared she is. Like he becomes like, I think in a lot of ways almost a proto Hicksian figure. I think it's easy to draw a line between Dallas and Hicks because they're both kind of strong silent characters, quote unquote. Although I think they're obviously very different. But there's something with Parker too where like when we meet Hicks, we meet him as this kind of like jarhead character, right? Like he's falling asleep on the dropship. He's tough, he doesn't seem to be laughing at jokes. He's just sort of doing his thing. He's showing up for the job. He's kind of this, he's just like a grunt, like which there's a whole thing about. And then through the course of his character's evolution, we see that he's not that at all, that's just this very outer layer. And we kind of think to ourselves, like, maybe we're judging characters by how they appear, and maybe we're doing that to people in our real lives too sometimes. And Parker, I think, is a great example of that in Alien, because I know the first time I mean, I've always loved Parker. And when I was a kid, he was like my favorite, until Ripley kind of emerged at the end of the movie. And I still remember being really heartbroken that he died, because I loved that he surprised me so much and that he was not only fun and funny and cool, but he was also kind. And I think that was something that was very, very special. And I think Yaphet Kotto is why that was so beautifully portrayed.
Absolutely. And what I love about Parker is even when he's giving Ripley shit, it has nothing to do with her gender. It's just
Yes.
he's a bravado, and he is a little bit more alpha, and he is less intimidated. Not that the other guys were intimidated by Ripley, but he's just a bigger character, and that's just who he is. And what I love, 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 love about the men in the original trilogy, some of the convicts, we'll make an exception for them, but it is not even in their disagreements with Ripley, it's not about gender. It's not about you can't do this job, why are you in this job, those things. It's really about them freaking out. Parker was freaking out, and in his fear, which was coming out as bravado, he was, what's the term? He was being condescending with Ripley. But I don't think any of his condescension with Ripley had anything to do had nothing to do with anything else other than his fear. And to talk about Dallas, I do just echo what everyone said. I love Dallas. Dallas was, I want to use the term a beta, but I don't want to slip into this, oh, he's an alpha, he's a beta. Like, I think that can be divisive. But I really think, Star Trek famously, everything's equal, everyone's equal, men and women or whatever, they don't have any issues. But I think there's a component of that going on in the Alien films, whereas there is equality. There is no men and women can do the same jobs. They are hired for the same jobs. There is no, like, she's a woman, this, that, and the other. None of those sexual politics, in my opinion, are at play in any of these films, aside from Ripley, being raped on Fury, 161. That's a different conversation. And yeah, the way Dallas moves through his character, and he moves through just the sets too, and the way he has nothing to prove. He has no like soapbox to stand on. He just wants to get people home to, what Patrick was saying. And yeah, I think it's really profound, and it's unusual, even in the 70s when things were being turned on its head. In the 70s, with films in the 70s, things were being completely turned on its head. A lot of film at that point was protest. A lot of film was making a statement on what's going on in society at the time, and the gender politics. Women's rights were a big deal at this time. They were brand new, 4 years out from women being able to open up bank accounts by themselves. This film was released 4 years after that. So I think some of those ideas are at play. Like, well, what if we create the society in space years from now where all of this is done? And I really can feel that. I can feel it through
Yeah.
all of the films, and it's really something. And it's also iterated in people like Dallas, and then even in the Marines and Hicks, which we'll get to later, where there's no they're just people. They're just people moving through, which is why I think Ripley, I know we talked about her before, why I think it works so well. Why Ripley feels a little bit like Dallas. They feel like equals. There's definitely a little bit of some, I don't know if the term sexual tension is correct, but there is definitely, seems like there's a little bit of a history between Ripley and Dallas. But he just has this grace about him, this grace that, hey man, I'm not here to tell people what to do. I'm just here to like do my job, man. Like, I love you guys too. Like, let's get this over with. And it's really refreshing to see all these years later, because honestly, that doesn't happen today. You don't see that today. Today, the captains of ships are like, I'm the captain. Even you go to Covenant and what's his character's name? Billy Crudup's character.
Orem.
Orem. He is not Dallas. He is bullheaded. He is a little bit of an egomaniac. He is concerned about what everyone thinks. He is, he's the religious guy on the ship. I mean, they couldn't be more diametrically opposed as characters. So it's very.
Although, to be clear, that's kind of the point of Orem.
I know it's the point,
replacement. So he was like not,
yeah,
he was a bad choice for a captain. Is kind of.
Oh, for sure. But I will say this about Orem. There was no sexism. It wasn't about sexism. It was about his own issues. Like, they don't respect me because this, because that, because this. Dallas didn't have any of that. Of course, the writers didn't write that, but still,
Right.
None of that was on display. Whereas Orem was very like always tied up in his perception, how he's being perceived, that people don't like him. And whereas an Alien, I feel like none of that was even like, we're past that as a culture. And it is interesting. I mean, I know Covenant's a prequel, but it is interesting how they set up those characters in Covenant as opposed to Alien.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head where they don't, like, to me, the measure of a strong man is not caring what the other men think of him, right? Like, in a way, like, not like, oh, I don't care what people think and I'm just going to be an asshole. Not that way. The not the need for validation of other men's opinions when they know they have integrity and they know they're doing something right. One last thing about Dallas, when he does make maybe questionable decisions or he's, trying to grapple with what to do, it's never for his own self-preservation. Even when he's like demanding Ripley open the door, it's not so much about him. It's not like I gotta get in, I'm scared. It's about Kane. It's truly about Kane. And when the face hugger drops down and or jump scares and Ripley's scared, his instinct, not out of like possession or macho bravado, is to protect Ripley. He kind of just puts his body in front of her. And I think that's just instinctually who he is. Like, he's gonna get between whatever is the problem and his team. And that's why he volunteers, not even so much volunteers. He's just like, I'm gonna be the one to do it. And you can tell he was scared, but it not to the point where it paralyzed him. He was just like, I gotta get through this. I gotta like lure this beast out. And I admired that so much about him. The most fearful I was in that movie was his death. I was like the most scared for him. And the tension and the way it was, but I was like truly sad when he was gone, because I think then all the other characters kind of descended a little bit into fear more. Like, he was the calm presence, and then they started getting a little bit more agitated and fearful. It's like when that one person that you trust kind of leaves, and they were sort of the glue that kind of kept everyone in check, and not through ego, but just through his calmness, I think. So,
And
yeah,
it's
I think.
interesting how, like, when we, sorry, Andy, go ahead.
No, 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 go ahead.
Well, when we meet him, I feel like it registers almost as like he's kind of checked out, like he's just sort of wants to get home and like he's just sort of tired, But I think then you realize he's probably always been kind of like that, and that's why he's done well on these kind of long haul missions,
Right.
is because he's kind of like he doesn't get perturbed very easily, He's just like a very kind of steady presence, which again is why I think Hicks is a really good analog for him, because Hicks proves himself to be that, I think, in Aliens too.
Yeah.
Which maybe we can talk about next.
Yes,
Yeah,
maybe
let's
we
move on.
move on.
Next.
Yeah, I mean, I think Hicks totally changed the game for characters like him. there's not been a Hicks since. I'm not talking just Alien. I'm talking generally.
There hasn't. There
Well,
hasn't.
Just so hot.
no, well, yeah, for sure,
Ah,
1,000 times. I just think it took the they took the Dallas character and kind of one-upped it and put that sort of soul into a colonial marine.
Mm.
And the dichotomy of seeing him falling asleep and everyone's just like kind of slapping him, like, come on, let's go. Like he seems just like you said, Patrick, like just a grunt. He's gonna be the one that is only following orders, but he just steps up so hard and it's so exciting to watch because I feel like once he starts taking charge, it's not the machismo, it's not bravado, and it's not even like flashy heroism. I'm gonna be the one to save you. It's more like I've got this. Like I know what to do. I'm gonna help delegate. He tells Vasquez what to do because she's good at this. You're gonna go do that. He just like knows everybody so well. He knows what they're good at, and even if they're like kind of afraid and panicking, he's able to focus them. Okay, you know what you're doing. Like Hudson, go run whatever, you know what I'm trying to say, like the tech stuff. And it's very calm, just like Dallas. He's not outwardly scared or panicky. He just kind of acts. And like that's what they need. And that's what Ripley needs. And I think you can kind of almost see it in her that she gets hope again when he starts to come out that way. That sort of he also like listens to Ripley. He's probably the only one that does at first. Um, and it's refreshing because this character that everybody wants like a toy of is also so supportive and kind and um just loving. Like I just believe him. I believe him when he says we're not going anywhere. I believe him when he says we're going to get through this. All of those things. He teaches Ripley. He's not like, I'm going to save you. He's like, here's how you save yourself. You know, it's phenomenal to have that in a character, especially from that time period too.
I think just before getting more into Hicks, there's something interesting that I'm thinking about as this conversation is going, which is, so Aliens is the first one in the franchise where we have characters who were written to be certain genders, and it's interesting because it's also the first one where we have gender dynamics come out, not just the Van Leeuwen thing, but also like, have you been mistaken for a man? Mira, who's Snow White? We have these kind of little things coming out where people are kind of acknowledging, we have people aware that they have genders in this, because in the first one they don't, because they literally were written without them. So like that's interesting that Cameron took that and maintained that sense of kind of a post-gender lattice work, even though these characters clearly were written to be men and women, in some sort of traditional sense. And then we get to Alien 3, where we have like it's like there isn't a problem possible with it because it's all men except for Ripley, who is, obviously just going to be Ripley no matter what. So then it's like there's still not really like gender dynamics at play, because it's like just, other than obviously the sexual violence and stuff that happens. But in terms of like, there's not interactions between men and women other than just Ripley interacting with all these men. And then after that, we get to Resurrection, which is like the antithesis of that, because it's like so hypergendered that it's like sex jokes and like fuck jokes and foot fetish jokes. And it's like crazy adolescent, puerile Joss Whedon garbage sex humor. And I think part of why it feels so out of nowhere is because it's like, it's a slap in the face to like the precedent that the first two movies especially set out with gender, which was like, we're kind of past that. I think that's really an interesting kind of observation. And going back to Aliens for a second, uh, again, it's like it's a study in how to subvert stereotypes, And we talk about this all the time because Aliens is so full of these incredible characters. But Hicks is just always going to be my favorite because, he was somebody that I could look up to as a young boy and think like, that's exactly the kind of man that I want. Like Hicks is like the exact man that I want to be. Like he's the man that I'm trying to raise our kids to be with Micah. Like he's a humble, but like still capable person who is not like caught up in how he's perceived all the time, like to Andy's point, but is also like very much ready to be there to help, to show up, to like lead from behind if he has to, and also to like take charge when situations need it, like when Ripley's having a panic attack and he has her ease down, like he's able to still step up and act and be proficient while not needing to control the scene all the time. As a man myself, I'm very aware of, not being, it's funny I'm saying this while I'm talking, but like I try to err on the side of like listening more in interactions, just because I think men get a lot of airtime. And I really like that Hicks does that. And maybe part of why I try in my personal life to not talk quite as much as maybe some other men might, is like I think it's important to do that. I think, by default men get a lot of spotlight, and I think Hicks is a nice study in how to like use that spotlight to put light on other people who maybe deserve it more. And I think Ripley's ascension in Aliens does not happen without Hicks's allyship. And thank God he did, because that's how they got out of that whole fucking mess. You know what I mean? Um, but I also think it even just extends to people like Hudson. Like Hudson is the proto Parker, right? Of aliens. Like just like in an Alien, when we meet Parker, he's loud and kind of obnoxious and funny and a little bit annoying. That's exactly who Hudson is. Like Hudson's just like, and so we're just setting up again for this character. Like, oh, he's gonna be the problem. Like he's gonna be slapping Ripley's ass, or he's gonna be the one who's gonna be like, oh, we got another chick on the team now when Newt shows up. But he doesn't do that at all. And the whole time you're kind of like waiting for him to like actually be this dick, and he never is, because he's actually just a good person. And again, like I think maybe there's something to this where it's like, does everybody have to be a good person? Like, no, I mean, obviously not. But it works well because even though, I mean, obviously there's Burke, but like other than other than Burke, who's not even evil from like a gender standpoint, he's just a bad person. Like Aliens really is not a story of like gendered normative aggression between people, which is really refreshing, and I think helps it stand out a lot in the very crowded landscape of 80s films where gender dynamics are like the crux of everything. I mean, you even look at a movie like Top Gun or something, which is from like the same kind of time period. Great movie, but it's like all about like gender and sex and like who's going to get the girl. Like it's just all these movies were like that. And Aliens, I think, stands out as one that never was. And I think that's part of its timelessness.
Yeah, I think the one of the main reasons it is, I consider one of the greatest feminist movies, is not just because of Ripley, it's because of the men in this. They subvert it so much. So you can't just have one side of the coin without the other. And that dynamic is amazing. Um, Hicks, I mean, is there a more perfect package on screen? I don't think so. Um, every man,
Wow.
no,
Whoa,
I'm
whoa,
saying,
whoa.
You want to say that again, Andy?
Aw.
I
She's
mean,
not wrong.
listen,
Sorry, we're just being men.
I'm talking about the
Sorry.
internal package. It just happens to
And
be,
the external package.
it just happens to be wrapped in a really nice, it's very
We
pretty
get it. We
outside.
get it.
Very nice
But
jockstrap.
yes, but no, but the fact that you were saying, and this is everything I've ever read on the internet about him, men looked up to him and women like wanted him. Like you have the perfect man because you have somebody who men want to look up to and be. Like you were saying, you're raising your sons to be like him. I think we need more Hicks in this world. Please raise your sons to be like Hicks. From the moment we see him, you were saying he's kind of like grunty and silent. And to me, I just think he's just so observant and thoughtful that he's not going to speak unless he has something important to say. And so in the beginning, he's just taking it all in. He's part of this team. They love him, they trust him, but he doesn't need to be the one joking around and making jokes to be a part. He's in there when he needs to be, but he's also like the quiet figure that stands in the back. He doesn't participate in the slight sexist banter. That might be the only time we get anything is when they're eating and the whole like Arcturian poo-tang. He just kind of like laconically smiles a tiny bit, not even. He's the one who observes Ripley freaking out with Bishop. He's watching her. He's taking it all in. The power loader moment where before she even demonstrates the skill, when she says, I can drive that loader, he's already intrigued. He's like, oh, this woman knows her shit. I like this. And then when she demonstrates her skill, that's when he's like, oh, like he sees something in her. Um, Whenever he does talk to her, and he doesn't speak to her for a while. I think the first time, if you're watching the special edition, is when he asks her if she's all right when she's like in the rain and not sure she wants to come in. I think that's the first time he directly actually speaks to her. And he's like concerned about her. He's always very just concerned, not just for her. He's the one who sees Newt as a girl and not an alien, right? He's the one who calls her over and gently is like, hey, like she's probably going to respond to you, not just because she's a woman, but like, this is Survivor. Let's like try to be like thoughtful with this little girl. Um, and he like if he is telling her to calm down or if he is talking to Ripley, he's not doing it in a condescending way, right? The ease down thing, every time he's saying it, he's lowering the temperature of his voice, right? Like the first time, like she's all PTSD and then every little subsequent time, he's bringing it down a notch. And I really noticed this because I watched it 2 days ago to prepare for this and the Bishop episode. Not that I, haven't seen this 1,000 times, but I'm watching it and I noticed like he's the one who, right after he says that, he goes up to Gorman and he checks on him and he's like holding him kind of gently because he had a concussion. And he's the one who gives first aid to Hudson. And he's the one who, after the dropship crash, picks up the debris off of Gorman because there's literally like a flaming piece right on him. Like he immediately goes into action and takes care of people. And then, of course, the moment that I think is like, the best, like, show don't tell is when he picks up Newt from like, he notices her. Everyone else is busy. And even Ripley, she's like looking at the plans. And he's like, he notices them and he picks her up. That's such a dad moment, if ever there was one. Um, and then just the unwavering support. Things he said to Ripley. I noticed, right? Like, yeah, I noticed. Or I believe you. Like everything a woman ever wants to hear, ever, he says. So, I mean, I could go on and on and on, but I just think he's wonderful because it doesn't come across too as like he's like really trying. It's just in his nature and it's played so beautifully. I love it. I love him. That's my Hicks,
And when he's talking, like there's a couple of moments where he's using that that little thing to cut through to get to Newt.
Mm,
What I don't know what that thing is called.
like
And she's
yeah.
like, we gotta hurry. He's like, I know. And then Ripley, they finally get through, and Ripley starts screaming, she's gone. And then she's like, she's alive, she's alive. And he's like, I believe you, she's alive, but we gotta go. And then,
Yes.
but even before then, when he's talking her down, like, ease down, it's not this like, ease down, honey. Like, he's not talking down to her. He realizes that she's deeply in fear. She's deeply in trauma at that moment. And he's essentially saying, we're okay. You're safe. We're okay. You're safe in the most beautiful way possible. And then even when he's showing the gun to her, it's not like, come here, sweetheart. Let's do this. No, no, honey, not like that. Like, it could have been written that way. He could have been written as a slimeball or as a little bit of a misogynist, just a little tinge of it. There's no tinge of it. And what's beautiful about Hicks is that the way he interacts with Ripley, as people have been stating, he interacts with everyone. He is like this emotional support Marine to some degree. He is
Yeah, that's a
so
good way
level-headed.
That's so
Yeah.
good. That's such a perfect way to
Perfect.
say it.
And
Yes.
even when Gorman comes to after his concussion, Gorman has relinquished control to Hicks. Like, Hicks is in control. And even before then, another interesting thing, I think, and I'll just talking about sort of the men in the Alien films. In Aliens, even Burke, as slimy as he was, when Ripley went to go drive the APC to save them, Burke's like, you had your chance, Gorman. Like, Burke's like, let her do her thing. Like, no one is patronizing her or anybody else. Everyone's pretty equal. And even in what's interesting, again, just kind of talking about a couple of points before Hicks, when Burke and Gorman go to Ripley's apartment, they are very much on their guard with her and in a respectful way. Ripley, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Andy would know because Andy's met Sigourney Weaver. I don't know about Sigourney Weaver's presence, but there is something like Joanna Cassidy that's a little bit intimidating about her,
Yeah.
where you meet this woman, you're not going to fuck with her. Men are not going to fuck with her. I mean, Sigourney Weaver she has this story about Al Pacino not getting out of his seat to meet her, to say hello because she was taller than Al Pacino. And it's interesting. And I don't know what was going on through James Cameron's mind when he was writing the script. I mean, and James Cameron has some sordid history with being a little bit of a jerk on set or screaming at people. There's even stories about James Cameron, about Sigourney Weaver calling him out on set, like, no, you can't act this way. You cannot do it. Because I think she was a producer or something. Maybe she wasn't a producer on Aliens yet. But to have him write these characters, these men that aren't full of bravado, even Hudson had bravado, he did, but he wasn't, as did Apone, as did Frost, as did
Drake.
Drake, yeah, but it wasn't this toxic bravado. It was just like, hey, like I'm here, like it was like overconfidence, and none of it was translated as this guy's an asshole. Drake didn't
Well,
seem.
Vasquez had it too.
They won.
Yeah,
She was
she
right
had it.
there with them.
Yeah,
They're not
I
gonna
had it the
neg-
most.
it was just
She
this.
did.
It was
She
this
deserved it.
level of respect that he
Yeah.
wrote in these characters while they could still be their own people with their own agency. And Hicks embodies that beautifully. And again, like the beauty of Hicks is that he didn't have the bravado with people, just was like, okay. People knew that they had his back, that he had their back. Like it's just this beautiful synergy of writing and acting. I cannot imagine James Remar in this role. I can't imagine it at all. I cannot imagine James Remar in this role.
That's what they're saying in the chat.
It would have been a different Hicks. We
Yeah,
not
it would have
had
been a
the
different
same-
Hicks.
Yeah.
It
Totally.
would have been, but I do have to say, like, of actors who would turn in a kind of similar performance, like James Remar to me. I mean, if you watch him in It, Welcome to Derry, he does have like a very kind of calm, kind of cool
Yes.
affect to him. So like, I think that would have been an interesting portrayal. I just can't imagine anybody but Michael Biehn, being him. But like, I
100%.
think he would have done like an interesting job with it had he stuck around.
Yeah.
I think he was harsher, they said. Like he was more tough and
More military.
I can see that
yes,
for sure.
yes. But just going back to that one scene where like it literally shifts, that moment in the movie that shifts is when she says nuke the site from orbit, and she defers to Hicks because she thinks like, I think this guy's got my back. Like I think, like I'm pretty sure, like 99% sure this guy's got my back. And then when he confirms it in her exact words, which I think is such a great script moment, screenwriting moment, he doesn't say, yeah, Ripley's a good idea. Let's do what she says. He says it exactly in her words, which basically means we're doing like she's in charge. Like I might officially be in charge, but this woman is in charge. And we are listening to her, and you're gonna shut the fuck up, Burke, because we're listening.
Yeah.
And then he calls Pharaoh right away.
Yeah.
He's like, Pharaoh, prepare for death. Like we're doing
Yeah.
it.
Let's go.
Like,
After Burke insults him, he's a grunt. No offense, none taken.
Right,
like he insults, like it's crazy.
And he
It's an
takes it the
amazing
best
scene.
possible way,
Yeah.
right? He's not like his standard's not up. The only time he ever
None
gets
taken.
pissed
Mm.
is when he realizes what Burke did to Ripley and New.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then, and that's when that's when the switch happens. He's like, we're going to freaking kill this guy. But even then, Vasquez and Hudson are the more emotional ones in that scene. They're who I am. I'm like, kill this motherfucker.
Yeah.
Right. And Hicks is like taking it all in first and making a decision. He's like processing it. And then he makes that decision, which I love that because he's got to be the one. He's the one in charge. So it weighs more heavily on him. And he's got to be the more thoughtful one. He's got to be the less emotional one, even though, you can tell like right after that moment, like there's no, like this guy did that on purpose. And the fact that Hicks dives headfirst through that glass without a moment of hesitation, like hero, like the GOAT, like who does that? You know
Hicks
what I mean?
does.
Hicks does.
You know what I love
Big Hicks
about
energy. Yeah.
Big
Yeah.
Hicks
Big
energy.
Hicks energy.
Big Hicks
T-shirt,
energy.
Andy. Let's
Talking about that
go.
It's
package
such a
again.
That's great.
Right?
Yes.
Big Hicks energy. Are
I
you
did
kidding
come up
me?
with that one. I gotta.
Come on,
You
Andy.
gotta
I
make
don't want to
it.
take credit for that. Andy
That's
said
an
it.
Make it.
Alien
Did
Day
say it.
shirt right
We have to
there.
upload that to like our T Public or
Oh,
something. That would be
so
great.
Has
good.
to.
That's gotta
Alien Day.
Big
Alien
Hicks
Day.
energy. I'm making a shirt. I'm
Big
so
Do it.
making a
Do
shirt.
it. Do it. So
We need big Hicks energy in this world.
Everyone does.
I think what
Should
I
we move
love
on?
about can I just
go
say
ahead.
one
Go
thing?
ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah, God, you guys. Um, no, one thing I love about like Alien and Aliens and just this common theme throughout about the threat of the alien is just that like everybody understands that it's a threat to humanity. Just like these things and being around them and what the company might do to them or do with them. And I love that that is understood by like all the Marines. I think that's why a lot of them act the way that they do after they come to realizing, you know, what it is that they've stumbled upon, and seeing what these things can do, and the fear of them getting off this planet and that, and you get some of that in Alien, and it's one of the things I do love about Prometheus is when Shaw tells um, she's running from the ship and she's like, you can't let them go home, like there won't be a home to go back to. I love that part. And then that's when Idris Elba and his character and the three guys like do the funny like crash into the ship thing. And anyway, I do enjoy Prometheus. I'm sorry everybody, but anyway, I like that part. But what's cool is Hicks and Hudson and they all understand that concept of that, and they're not drawn into, you know, it's like when you're at work, just whatever you do for work every day, and there's parts of your job that are like, oh well, if like the wrong people got a hold of this access that I have access to, or whatever that might be, it could turn out differently, or it could be really bad, or like Micah and Patrick for like being in a clinic or in a hospital, like there's obviously doors that lead to places that have morphine and shit like that, right? But you're not like the allegory I'm trying to make, the connection I'm trying to make is that you're not afraid that it's going to like destroy humanity, and there isn't like this fear to like go into that room and throw and dump all the morphine down the toilet, right? There isn't that thought, right? But they could have also have, you know what I mean? They could have also have thought that way in a film like this, to have not taken it as seriously and then judge Ripley for like what she's trying to do because she thinks that she needs to dump all the morphine down the toilet, right? And make fun of, or not like make fun of her, but just like discredit her for that. And that is something I think that's like so prevalent in today's society a little bit, and people don't fully understand the impact that certain things that are going on around them can have on the greater piece of humanity, right? I'm sorry I'm getting so deep with it. But what I love about Hicks and the men of the Alien Saga is they do embody this understanding of that like if they don't act like an upstanding citizen, have integrity, they're not lazy about it, they care for everybody, humanity like could be at risk just because of what they're dealing with and understanding the xenomorph and that species and whatever risks it presents. So I just love that all of that shit that I just came up with in my brain came from like watching Aliens one time. You know what I mean? That's what I love about it.
I don't know if that was an intentional segue or not, but you did bring up morphine, and I have to say,
Here we go.
the next, like, you know, like
Clemens.
connecting the dots
Let's
between
go.
these characters is, of course, yeah, Dr. Jonathan Clemens, who caused the death of 11 people due to misadministration of morphine and lost
What
his
an
medical
idiot.
license. Yeah, he
God.
definitely, you know, fucked up pretty bad,
Yeah.
but he does become, of course, like, you know, we had Dallas and Ripley kind of in the first one. We had Hicks and Ripley in the second one, and now we kind of have Clemens and Ripley in terms of like another, like there could be some history there, you know, there could be some future there. We don't know. But well, I guess we know, and there's no history in Alien 3, but in terms of all three characters.
Mhm.
But in Alien 3, of course, Clemens kind of assumes the role of like the quiet kind of Ripley ally male figure with whom she bonds. And I think he's an amazing character.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'd say he's the quietest of the three.
Mm.
He's the most, yeah, he's the most quiet of the three, and he approaches Ripley so, like, even like you can see, I mean, he has his inner dialogue, like right when he meets Ripley, it's like, you should probably wear some clothes. He's like, none of them have seen a woman in years, and he goes, neither have I, for that matter. But, and he clearly was responding, but he played it so well. There's nothing. He could have been a jerk. He could have been an asshole. He could have been like, hey, yeah, let's whatever. But he played it with such grace. Again, that's a word that I would use for Hicks as well. Just wonderful grace. And yeah, he's an amazing character.
And for Dallas, I think you used that word already tonight
Yeah.
for Dallas, Jamie,
Mm.
you
Yeah.
did earlier too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
So
Yeah.
funny.
there's a common thread with those three.
Yeah. And I feel like with Clemens, it feels like Ripley recognizes in him, like this man is probably my lifeboat here in the beginning, at least, when no one is taking her seriously, when everyone sees her as a piece of meat. Like this person is not sizing me up all the time, not, taking advantage of me being a woman here. And I think, I mean, to recognize that when she has just been re-traumatized for like the umpteenth time, having lost Hicks, having lost Newt, having been full of despair, worried that she has an embryo in her, like to find someone that she can actually trust and be real with is such a huge deal, especially on such a violent planet where there's no way she's getting off in the way that she wants to get off the planet. She's either dead or getting off in a Weyland-Yutani
Or with
ship.
Clemens.
Or with
Was it Micah? You
That's
kinda
where I was
set that
going
up.
to.
Yeah,
Oh,
she's
oh my
not gonna get
God.
off the way she wants to get off.
Hey.
Sorry.
I can get you off, maybe not the boat.
Clearly, I did not mean that. But you
Neither
guys
have
know
I,
what
for
I
that
mean.
matter.
Jamie,
Oh
oh my
God.
God.
I walked right into that one.
You guys.
I
So did
can't.
she. No, I'm kidding.
Oh.
Very nice.
There it is in my life. Yeah, anyway, what I was trying to say is just like it's really cool that he was able to provide her with the security and the sense of like I have your back in that violent place.
Yeah,
Never
and I
talking
think
again.
what I love about the relationship, it's mutual trust, because he's also divulging information to her, and he probably feels safe with her in saying this, but he's the one who has to deliver horrible news. He's the one who has to soften the blow in terms of like telling her where she is and the fact that she's in a prison full of rapists. He takes care of her. I love him I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the autopsy scene, but it's uncomfortable, but rightfully so. But I think he's so gentle. He's as gentle as he can possibly be in that scene, and he holds it sacred. He's not digging in there. He questions every move she wants to make. Like, are you sure? Like, obviously, he's also like suspicious. There's a reason beyond what you're saying, beyond cholera, but he's he's thoughtful in a way where he's doing it slowly and methodically and just thoughtful. Like he, yes, he deserved to pay for his, you know, crime, but that measuring his crime versus the other inmates, right? And in comparison, we're like, something affected this man. Like, I'm not excusing getting, high and then killing 11 people, but like, clearly he has an emotional center that he was affected by this. And so he's her emotional center. And, I appreciate the fact that Ripley had some physical intimacy in this hellscape of whatever time frame, like the time frame that she had in these three films. Was it like emotionally intimate as it could be. No, like it was, I think, a more clinical, physical need, but she felt safe enough with this man to do that. So, I liked that. I liked that she had like a little bit of respite or respite within this hell. And I thought he was a great character. And the fact that he was taken like not even, was it even halfway, right? It was very short-lived.
It was short-lived.
Yeah, it was short-lived. It was like yet another dagger, but just spoke to like if you're going full nihilism, like they went, you know, like they just kept like giving and taking and giving and taking in this movie. And I think he was the last of the like she was like, what the fuck? Like what am I like what's happening now? And then she was just full on, I gotta just beat this thing. If I die, I die kind of mode. But
Mm.
yeah, I think that was like the final switch of her just not giving a flying fuck about maybe survival, but her humanity, she still cared. But I think at that point it was like, like he was it. But I loved him. I love what he brought to that movie. I really do. A
Patrick,
softness.
um, Ripley says something to Clemens that might support something that I proposed 2 weeks ago when he asks about Newt's body. What does she say to him?
Pop quiz.
I don't have no idea
Pop
what you're
quiz, hot
talking
shot?
about. What do you mean?
She's like, I had a terrible dream in hypersleep. When she's asking, why are we doing this?
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're
Mm.
talking about the dream. Oh, the dream theory episode. Oh, wow. Back full
Patrick's
Full
favorite
circle.
episode.
topics so much. That's actually that's why that happens, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
But
And then if you listen, there's like a harp in the background that's like
That's literal confirmation.
Yeah.
confirmation.
Confirmation right
The
there.
screen kind of shakes a little bit.
Um, I want to circle back to one character we didn't mention in Aliens quickly, Gorman. We were kind of
Yes.
talking about
I
him
was
earlier.
hoping to talk about him.
Yes.
Gorman started off, he's just incompetent. Gorman's an incompetent character. And we know this. They knew this. The other characters knew this. But he really came around. And even in his incompetence, he wasn't rude. He wasn't mean. He was just incompetent. He shouldn't have been he shouldn't have been in charge of that battalion. Although it also seems kind of strange that Weyland-Yutani put him there on purpose because he was incompetent. Like they knew. I don't know.
They
But-
totally did.
They
yeah,
knew.
yeah. It's like
Yeah.
they replaced him as they replaced Ash. Like he's sort of the Ash a little bit.
Yes.
But I really do love the character of Gorman. I love who he became. I love his essentially his body language of apology. He tried to apologize to Ripley. Lesser men would not have done that in his position. He totally was like, Ripley, and she's like, forget about it, and that
He
was their
accepts
moment.
responsibility.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's takes a huge person to do that, to accept responsibility where you almost killed everybody. And I think that is phenomenal to have this guy who's supposed to be this military leader take responsibility for an enormous fuck up
Mm.
like that. And I will say that scene with Vasquez in the vents makes me cry every
Mm.
single time when he holds her hand like that. That is like heroic. That is a comeback. The fact that he does that with her together, you always were an asshole, Gorman. I just like always cry at that part. It's fantastic.
A
James Cameron gave
fabulous
that
arc.
character an arc. What the
Fabulous
fuck?
arc.
It's amazing.
I think the best arc, one of the best arcs in the film, if not the franchise. When he slaps Hicks and's like, go, and I got her, and you're like, yes, right? And when Vasquez sees it's him, and there's this subtle look on her face. He's like, that again, that's what, and not just a man. Like we're saying this in the context of like be a man. Like that's what a good person does.
Yeah.
They admit their wrongdoings because none of us are perfect. We're gonna, all of us have fucked up. His was, especially egregious with the people dying, but he felt the weight of that. He knew, like, he woke up. That was literally a wake up call when he got knocked out in the head. Like, I'm waking up to this. Half the crew are gone. I messed up and I'm gonna do what I can in this moment to like really make up for it.
Hmm.
Right. And there's a shot when like Ripley's talking about what Burke did and they're all want to kill him and he's taking it all in too in the background. If you watch this scene is beautifully framed and shot by Cameron because you can see everyone's reactions. Um, and even like when you see the back of Gorman's head, you can see him being slimy and Gorman is just as pissed on their behalf. And he's kind of like, yeah, like let's like he's horrified. He's horrified that this man that he worked closely with, they go in and convince Ripley to come and we're going to destroy them and not bring them back. And he thinks that like he's doing this like as a noble, like he's doing this on the heroic side. Like, yeah, we've got to rescue these colonists. This is our mission. And he sees and he feels that betrayal just as deeply. And I think that's, him going back for Vasquez is one of the great
Mm.
arcs.
And his
So
arc
yeah,
is it's so like late. Like I love how
yes.
it's again, it's just the movie is so patient and it treats us so smart. Like it gives the audience such leeway to like form their own conclusions and like take time and not like necessarily assume that things are as they seem in any given moment because the story's complex. I just love that. So I think Orman's wonderful. I always laugh though because probably to stop from crying because like the him and Vasquez in the vent is like one of my favorite scenes in the whole franchise. I always think like how different it would be if she said you always were a butthole, Gorm. I just feel like, can you imagine like how much less emotional that would be?
Well,
Even though it'd be like
yeah.
like it would probably have parents would have liked it more.
Why
Uh
would
I
she
think we,
say that?
because you don't want to say ass. I don't know.
or maybe that was for like the TV version. She
Yeah,
said
exactly. I
butthole or
just
Oh,
something. I
just
bet.
picture how different it would be.
My God.
You always
wait,
were a
is that a
butthole, Gorman.
thing?
No,
Is
but it should
it?
be. We should do
Oh
that
Okay.
and
my
big
God,
Butthole
Hicks
surfers.
on
no.
a shirt.
I
Uh,
think
Hicks,
we would.
oh, it's
I
Oh,
think we
that
would
is
be.
a
butthole
musical.
Gorman.
We would be
Yes.
remiss if we don't mention Dillon, though. Even though
yes.
Dillon
Mm.
wasn't her adversary at all, he met her at his level, and he was very like, "I don't know if you want to know me. This is what I've done. I
Yep.
don't know if I'm
Mhm.
safe for you." And then he never talked down to Ripley. He always pushed her. He's like, "I'm not the leading type. Maybe you're an officer. How about some leadership?" When he kind of
Right. But
pivots
even
to her.
saves her when she almost gets raped. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
the one who
Yeah.
He's
comes to punish and re-educate some of the brothers, right? But
he saves
he,
her
Hmm.
twice.
right.
He
Hmm.
saves her from
I love
herself.
Dillon.
And- and-
Dillon's one of my favorite
Me
characters.
yeah, me
too.
too. And when she goes to him and she's like, "You need to kill me," and then he's like, "Okay," and you could see he's haunted by what she's asked. He doesn't want to do it, and you could see
Mm-mm.
it's bringing
Yeah.
Yeah.
demons of his past because he's killed women before, and then he doesn't kill her, and he's like, "You're not going to save anyone doing this." And he's not saying this is stupid. You're stupid. You're better than this. He just was like, "We need you," and he doesn't. But he also is like, "Hey, this is real. Us if us not killing you is going to help us fight it, then then you're going to help us fight it." He's like, this is where we're at. We're in a rock and a hard place, and you are our through line to this. It's his character is so wonderfully complex,
oh
but
yeah.
Mm.
also compassionate and respectful, and does not talk down to Ripley, and he partners with her as a partner, not as a leader, not as a he's got bravado, but he does not have bravado with her. It's amazing. That is an amazing character. I think when people blow off Alien 3 as like those characters weren't great, they're wrong.
No,
Those
They're not
I
characters were
wrong.
amazing.
Again,
They
he
are
takes
wrong. Don't
responsibility for
disagree
his
with us.
past.
I
Yeah, just
True.
disregard.
But he
I
does
Just
take
yeah.
kidding.
responsibility again for that horrible life that he had. Like that is a person who is saying, "Yeah, I did terrible things. You should not trust
Right.
me. You should not get close to me." That who does that even nowadays? Like that's a rare thing for people to
Yeah.
do, and this character does it. Go ahead, Andy, sorry.
Well, it's
No, no,
yeah.
that's exactly why I think out of every character, I have the most like I don't know what the right word is, conflicting relationship with him or complicated because he makes you work for like my brain has to kind of almost there's like cognitive dissonance when I admire this man. Because I'm like I'm seeing the actions and they're admirable. And I know what he did to get here. And I have to parse the two in my brain. And I think he makes us work for it. And I think that's why he makes such a great a character. Because I don't forgive rapists. Is like I'm not a rapist sympathizer. I'm just gonna say that, okay?
Yes.
I
And
think all of
so
us are not.
no, I know none of you are. No, I know not
Yeah.
like I'm not saying like that's not the implication. Like
Oh yeah,
I
sorry.
don't think they deserve sympathy. I don't think there's like, but you can see he's working for that. Like you can see, like you were saying, he's haunted. I think that's a perfect word for him, you know? And so that does tug on that part of me that loves the redemption story. I love, the arc of I'm all for redemption. I'm all for like somebody realizing their mistakes. And I think forgiveness should be a part of the conversation now. I think we've lost that aspect to ourselves too. Um,
100%.
right? So I think he represents that, and I think he's fabulous. But every time I watch it, I have to sort of, you know, I have to make room for him with like this like asterisk next to him, and I think that's what makes him great. I always have to parse that, like, yeah, he did this, and I think Ripley does too, but in a way, but she's at that point where she's not afraid of them. Like when she sits down at the meal and she just shows up in her presence and she's like, let them deal with the fact that I'm here. Like I'm not, like she claims that moment too. And I think that's kind of when she wins him over, maybe, where he's like, respect. Like I don't think he respected women before that. And I think she earns it from him in a surprising way that surprises him. And he's like, you know what I mean? Like there's this, he might have looked at women in a different light until she came into his life and
Yes.
mixed that up too.
Well,
A couple of things. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Barry.
thank you. Yeah, there's something to be said about someone who's so confident that they're not scared in an environment like that. And this obviously with what Ripley has gone through everything, but then to act so nonchalantly, like she doesn't give a fuck about like them or anything. Like she's just like, well, I fucking ended up here and I gotta figure it out, man. And like that has so much, just goes into that idea right there, and just for Ripley, right, to have that and to carry herself in that way through everything she's been through. But yeah, that just one piece of it of why I love Dillon too, having that character arc and growing to respect her so much in that way, to save her twice. And I just wanted to add to that, like he's the leader in the faith sense, and he does the eulogy, uh, has respect for, I guess, just people in general, like under God, sinners under God, created by God, and just like living with that understanding. But then just to bring it back to my like understanding of we can't let this thing out, the beast, like they have to destroy this thing. Where Dylan could have been like, much like a lot of men today, where you say you're gonna do one thing, but then like once an easy out, an exit comes, or like something comes to save you to get you out of there, you're like, oh, psych, just kidding. Like, good luck, but I'm gonna hitch a ride with the real bishop and try to like get home, right? Like, no, he stays there. He says, you go, I'll stay here. And she's like, no, we had a promise. And she's like, God, and he's like, God will take care of you now, sister, because I gotta keep this thing down here. Like almost that he knows better than her. Like he's not losing himself to the emotion, to something selfishly that Ripley is. Obviously, we know how bad it is having that thing inside of you. Dylan doesn't fully understand that, but he's like, no, I got to keep this thing here. You go do what you need to do. I'm sure, like, you're gonna figure it out. And I love that. Dillon for that, his character for that, and I love like that's also one of my favorite scenes is him holding um the beast in the lead like right before they pull the lead on it and he's like fighting it. I love that he's like fist fighting it at the end and it's yeah, it's just so great. It's so everything violent like but strong and courageous of somebody to be doing that. Like how scary must that be? Like you go through all the emotions and it allows Ripley to have her like final piece, that final fuck you to the company because she gets to make the choice of
Mm.
how it ends, you know? I love that.
The last thing I'll say on Dillon, and I know we need to wrap, a couple of things. I think it's in the assembly cut of Alien 3 where they're like no one's guilty in here. Someone says that, or it's in a script or something where they're talking and they're like, yeah, everyone's innocent here, you know. Then she meets Dillon, and Dillon right away says, "This is what I've done." Dillon owns right up to what he's done, and he says he's a murderer and he's a rapist of women. So first of all, he saves Ripley from rape, and then he saves Ripley's life, and he goes this full redemption arc
Hmm.
to, and in my opinion, this is Dillon atoning. And I do think he's an amazing character, but he is a very flawed character. He's the first character that's that close to Ripley in the trilogy. He is not a good man. He is not Dallas. He is not Hicks. He is not Gorman. He is not Drake. He is not anyone we've seen before. This man is a monster. He is a monster embedded with monsters who are in jail for the rest of their lives. He's a monster who has owned up to his mistakes. He's like, yes. And he's scared of himself a little bit. You can feel it. You can feel that he's a little bit afraid to be around Ripley, even in the quiet, because
Hmm.
and I think Ripley is naive where she walks into his cell and says, "Hey, you got to do this thing." And I think he's kind of like, "Oh my God, what can I control myself? There's this woman in my cell." And he could have done to Ripley whatever he wanted to do, but he chose redemption instead. And I think it's really beautiful. And I think it's probably a little bit idyllic. But I also do truly believe in redemption stories. And I think Dillon has a wonderful redemption arc. Now, I still think he needed to be in jail for the rest of his life for what he's done. It doesn't mean, oh yeah, go scot-free and go, if he lived, go home and go back to Earth or wherever and have a good life. Like, no, he needs to be in jail for the rest of his life. But what he did atoned for some of the wrongs that he's done. And again, wonderfully complex. And it's an underrated character in an underrated movie.
Dillon is unquestionably an all-timer for me too. He's one of my favorite characters in the entire saga. And I think just, as we close out, a lesser movie would have had him like dealing with temptation more visibly. I think there would have been scenes showing that to like make the audience nervous, to be like, oh, like maybe he's gonna revert to his like old ways, or like, when Ripley gives him the axe, like maybe like if there would show him like, like Dexter being like having this like kind of like, oh, this is like the dark passenger coming out. But there's none of that. Like he's not that person anymore. He is still that person. And that's why, to your point, he deserves to be punished for it. But at the same time, like he has found redemption in this place and space, and he has like moved past it. And I really do think that it's a testament, again, like a very progressive, very interesting screenplay, which is remarkable considering how butchered it was, that like you still have characters that are that complex. And Dutton's performance, I think, is just, I mean, it's like Oscar worthy.
Yeah.
And
It really is.
to this day, he's like an all-time dream guest for me. I've tried a bunch of times.
Mm.
I don't know if it's ever
I
going
think
to
he's fully
happen.
retired from everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been done for a long time.
Mm.
But just an incredible performance of a really complicated actor. And I agree, Andy. I mean, I always struggle with that. Like I hate when when we like meet him and we remember what he did, and it's like, oh shit, that's right. Like he really is not
Yeah.
a
Just
hero. He's
bad.
just
Yeah.
not. He's a bad person.
But he had
But
heroic moments.
he did, and
Yeah.
bad people can have redemptive qualities to them, and they can.
Yes.
And again, to with something that's coming up a lot, we're living in an age where there's a lot of horrible things being perpetrated. I mean, horrible things have been perpetrated against women and gender minorities and things for all of eternity. But right now, it's very visible and very out in the open, and not getting too much into current events. It's pretty disturbing. And what is in some ways even more disturbing is the constant denialism and sweeping things under the rug, saying it's not a big deal. Don't pay attention to it. We're going to redact everything out of this. You're not going to actually see what really happened. We're going to pretend like it didn't. We're ready to move on. Things like that. which are really infuriating. And I love how, in Alien 3, for example, like we have somebody who says like I did monstrous things, and you don't have to respect me, you don't have to love
Mhm.
me, you don't have to feel comfortable around me. If I could change that, I would, but I can't because I did terrible things. And like just having somebody just like be upfront about that, I think is really, I don't know if it's salubrious, but it definitely brings some degree of like peace to me, where I'm like, there are monsters in history who repent for it and are open about it. And I wish we had more repentive monsters in the world today, because we sure as fuck got a lot of monsters in the world today.
Yeah.
Uh
That's amazing.
yeah,
Like
but let's
just yeah.
sorry, go ahead, Anna.
No, just the visual of that and seeing that on screen, like representation of monsters, like just saying it.
Yeah.
Like I
Just
did this.
acknowledging it. Just
Acknowledging. That's sometimes what, obviously justice, but just the acknowledgement that this, like, these people, these victims are not out of their mind, That's
mm,
like, that's what it, yeah, I know. And
that
then
is
the
amazing.
eulogy too. The eulogy scene,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
because you can tell that's a moment where, like, this man does have some redemptive, like, he's got a soul. He's got some quality that made him say these beautiful things. So
Mm.
Yeah.
anyway, yeah.
Like he's trying, despite the depravity of his life
Yes.
beforehand, to pull himself back in the little ways that he possibly can. And that is just so cathartic to see,
Yes.
especially nowadays.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm going to close this out just because it's getting pretty late, but I'm sure we'll probably return to this because we only got through 3 of the movies and we
I
barely even
know.
scratched the surface of
I
most.
know.
Genre is a whole different story.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, we could talk about that. We could also talk about the modern
Holloway.
films too, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Holloway.
Although I don't really want to talk about Halloween, but I
You're go-
digress.
you're
There are
you're gonna.
there's interesting conversations to be had in that, too. I think, and I want to give shout outs to our producers. I also want to give a shout out. Our chat has been so much fun tonight. I'm trying to be better about paying attention to the conversation and not always looking at the chat, but I have been following your comments and they're really great. I love the this nascent idea that the Arcturians are actually the Na'vi. I think that would be a really wonderful way
Oh
to
God.
James Cameron to
Yeah.
come back around full circle.
I don't know.
Maybe not. But
No.
I also want to give a specific shout out to Amoeba Jelly, who's in the chat, our friend Josh, who does amazing art and especially art related to the Alien franchise. We have shared some of it, but if you don't follow Amoeba Jelly on Instagram,
Do it.
give him a follow because he deserves it. And I'm going to give our producers a quick shout out. Again, if you want to join, go to perfectorganism.com/support. These are all people giving it at the at least $12 level. And they get a lot of exclusive stuff, like they get producer credits on the audio drama. They've been behind the scenes of a lot of it with us. They also have a dedicated chat where the whole Perfect Organism team is in there as well. And there's been like today, the chat has been wild. Like there's been
Yeah.
such like erudite like essays in there. Like people are really talking about the nature of mystery and about just really amazing stuff. So if you want to just be around kind of if you want to just live inside a constant Perfect Organism episode and have access to that chat, please join, and we'd love to welcome you there.
It's kind of great.
It is really great. And
It is.
these are our producers. We have Nathan Gribble, Darren Gold, Murray Kucherawi, Jonas Holmsten, David Holmes, Dave Turner, Gene McDonald, Perry Chicos, Matthew Bruff, Carl McLean, Joseph Rosner, Deal With It, Blood Hut, Vincent Harris, Steve Patterson, G. Latoria Yates, Zarnold Quigley, Ross Yost, Weed, Sean Rosado, Jeff DeLoff, Zeno Nick, Eric Poopvane Stevens, Carl Hinks, Chris B., Jeremiah White, Peter from Melbourne, Gary Smith, Angel Cruz, Weyland-Yutani Distinguished Engineer, Justin Baker, Brazen God, Sky Errand, Jordan, Xenodad, and maybe you listening to this right now. If you want to hear a shout out next time, go
Ooh.
ahead and join and
And
chat.
yeah, and also if you want to join the tier, we're going to be releasing an exclusive snippet, fully produced, of Alien Apotheosis in the coming weeks, just
Watch
for
out.
producers. So
Yeah. So we'll see you there. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you in the
Yeah,
chat.
thank you.
Thank you
This was a lot of fun.
guys.
Thanks,
This was
everybody.
awesome.
thanks everyone.